Hello, my name is Olivia Bova. I'm a psychologist and counselor socio-emotional. With my creative talk, I would like to share with you the amazing life and ideas of people around the world because each person is unique and special. Good morning. Today we are here with Jesse. Jesse is come from United States, but he is in Dubai, right? Right now.
Yes, exactly.
Jesse, can you talk about you, who you are, what you do in your life? So I would like the people can understand your wonderful life, creative life, and we will have other question after.
Yeah, no, of course, of course. No, that's a great place to start. Yeah, so my name is Jesse Byrd. I'm a children's book author and publisher and editor. I mainly work in the children's picture book space, so like Dr. Seuss type stuff.
Okay.
And not only and I have a focus on diversity, so I'm really passionate about providing opportunities for people in marginalized groups that don't typically get a lot of opportunities in the world of publishing, and in the world of children's book publishing specifically. And so I'm really passionate about not only creating those stories, but helping other people who are creating amazing stories for kids find out how to get it done and get it published and get it out there into the world. So that's what I love to do.
Wow, and this is amazing. I'm very interesting about illustrators, published children's books because I'm doing this year. I'm doing a postgraduate in publishing illustrated children's book. It's something I was
Mhm.
dreaming for a lot of time, and I take this time to be in the middle of the forest to do that. So
Oh,
quiet
wow.
time.
Congratulations.
Yeah, but I would like to know how you arrive to work about your passion, because sometimes people have a dream, but they think it's difficult to achieve this dream, or is it difficult to live about that. So I don't know. You will always want to do children publish children's book. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. So, no, the first thing I ever remember wanting to be in life was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, which is a cartoon. You can't be that. But when I was 11, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. Then I realized that wasn't happening. And then as I got older, was a psychologist for a little, wanted to be a psychologist for a little while, but then there was a long stretch of time where I didn't really know what I wanted to be. I didn't know until I was maybe 22 or 23, and I was playing basketball at university and college, and I got an injury, and I got a chance to sit out for a little while and really think about what I really wanted to do, what I was really passionate about. And during that time, that recovering process after surgery and while I was healing, I sort of discovered I had that aha moment where what I've always loved is storytelling and storytelling for young audiences, and that's when I really like pivoted my life from basketball and into trying to learn everything I could about writing, publishing, editing, all of that stuff. So I really devoted my life to it about 10 years ago.
Oh wow, okay, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And did you study writing or publishing at university, or you study that because we have a different way to work about the passion we have and to learn about that. So but it's right that we have in university we have degree, but we can also learn outside university. And you're
Yeah, so there were two ways, and you're absolutely right about that. You can have traditional and non-traditional educations in something. Um, there were two things. One, I grew up in a publishing household, so my mom started writing. My mom writes novels, but for adults. I write for kids. My mom writes for adults.
okay.
She started writing when I was 12, and so I really grew up in the publishing industry, just learning a lot about how the business works and contracts and royalties and percentages and all of that stuff. And so when I found out that I wanted to go into publishing on my own for myself in the children's book space, there was a lot of like industry information that I had like grown up in. And then from there, I did a lot of self-teaching. So I read constantly on how to become a better writer. Like I take courses, I watch videos, and then I just practice. Like I spend a lot of time with my craft and just trying to get better and trying to figure out other ways. But I read a lot of other children's books as well to learn how other people are like illustrating things or solving story problems or handling the big reveal or all of these different things that you may need to do in your story. It just gives you some type of information. And so, no, in terms of like formally taught, I feel like I was more so, I grew up in the industry and then I really just tried to study it as much as I could from there.
Okay, wow, that's great. And do you write because the children's book it's a vast is a vast sector because there are the pre reading after the I will say kindergarten, elementary. So do you write for all this age, or you have some particular age where you love more to focus?
Yeah, I mean, our books concentrate heavily on ages 0 through 8. Most of the books we make are going to be for ages 0 through 8, but from there we do have books for ages like 12 and up. We have one book for ages 12 and up, and then we have some books for ages like 8 through 12, that early reader space. But where we really concentrate most of our energy is in the children's picture book space. So ages 0 through 8 is where most of our books are gonna be for.
Oh, okay, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you work because I understood you writing, but you do also illustration,
Oh,
or you work
no,
with
no, I'm
also.
terrible. I'm terrible at drawing. Nobody wants me to draw anything. I am the worst. So no, I am lucky to work with people who are good at drawing, great at drawing, and we come together as a team. But I don't draw anything.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And how is the way you found your idea to write? Because this is also interesting about creativity. Where do you find your idea? You in the normal life, or something happened in your life, or maybe some friends said you something, and wow, the idea is come up.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So the first children's picture book we wrote, at least the idea came from the fact that my family's from New Orleans, Louisiana. They lived there. They went through Hurricane Katrina, which was this huge hurricane we had in the States, or at least the aftermath of it was huge with the levees breaking. And so that experience is what inspired the first story, hearing my family members talk about how they rebuilt and how were trying to move on with life after such a devastating natural disaster. That that information sparked the story for the first children's picture book. And then I started writing, and once I felt like it was ready enough, I started looking at different illustrators and talking to them about who would be a good fit. I found an amazing illustrator named Anastasia Koo, and she really brought the book to life and like better than I could have ever imagined. So I was lucky to work with her.
Oh, okay. And do you write every day, like a little bit every day? Because what they told me, it's like you wake up, and it's good if you have a notebook close your bed, and you write a little each day. So do you do that, or no? Or sometimes sometimes, oh, white page, and disaster, I don't know what I was write.
Yeah, so for me, I try to write as often as I can. I won't say I'm the type of writer who writes every single day because I do editing and art direction and publishing as well. And so it's kind of good for me. I'm the type of person where I like, when I get stuck, I like to switch to something else for a little while just to take a break from it. And so if I'm writing and I'm working on a story and I can't figure something out, then maybe I'll go edit a manuscript from a client, or I'll go, work on a different project that's into the illustration phase. And so I just try to mix it up and stay fluid. But I do, I would say I spend more time with story than I do on the actual writing. Like I think about concepts and working out concepts and the story arc, like what's going to be the big problem in the story and how are we going to solve it. Always thinking about those types of things because it's hard for me to write a story before I understand what its what the big thing is, what the big problem or the big climax is going to be, or what it's about. And so I spend a lot of time feeling around in the dark for what stories are about before I start actually working on the manuscript. But once I know what it's about, that's when I dive into trying to actually write it and go from there. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm the type of person that writes every single day, but every single day I spend quite a bit of time with story in one way or another, whether that's illustration, editing, like storyboarding, like thinking about the big pieces.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it works for me. But I know I think the whole thing is spend as much time with your craft as you can, whatever your craft may be. If you are really dialed in on the writing, then I would definitely say spend time on the writing. But since there are a few different things that I end up doing, I try to spend time with all of those things, those 3 or 4 different responsibilities.
Okay. Wow. And
Yeah.
and because you said you have the big picture. For example, when you think your story and you start writing, do you visualize also, if you don't do the illustration, but do you visualize your image? Because also you don't do the illustration, but maybe you visualize and you work with another illustration, but maybe has another idea. I don't know. Do you have it in your mind? You visualize your story in your mind, also if you don't do the illustration.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For me, we work in something called a story grid, and like how every building has a blueprint, right? Well, we have a blueprint for every story, because with children's picture books, it's not just words. You have to think about what the drawings are going to look like for every page. And so even for me as the person writing the book, when I'm trying to think about how this story is going to play out visually, it helps me if I get all of it down, thinking about, okay, where's this page taking place? What are the main characters? What are they doing? Are they running, jumping, swimming, playing? What's the words that's going to be on the page that the person will actually read? And then what's the mood of that scene? Is it a happy scene, a sad scene, a curious scene, an action-packed scene? And so I sort of lay out all of that in this grid before I even start talking to an illustrator, because I want to be able to give them some sort of idea of what it is I'm thinking, and then they can use their own creativity to build on that and do something totally different. That's fine. But I try to at least build it out enough to where they can get a sense of what we're trying to do here, and then go from there. So that's how I outline. I outline in something called a story grid. And we don't ever make a children's picture book without going through our story grid first, because we have to know if the house is going to stand and if it makes sense, and if the pacing is right. If something takes too long, a certain part of the story takes too long, or it's too quick, like we need to expand it, we can get a good look at that, having that 30,000 foot view looking down on our narrative. So it helps.
Wow.
Yeah. And also that grid is free for download on our website. We make it available to everybody who wants to see if it's right for them. If they're working on a children's picture book, that's really what we use to do all of our stories. And so if it's right for you, it's just one way of outlining. Some people use flashcards, some people, do other stuff, so storyboarding, but we use a grid. So
Thank you. Thank you so much.
of course.
And
Of course.
and then another question: when you have your story, you have already in your mind the the illustrator from the illustrator you want to work, because there are a lot of people in industry. I know probably you have already some of you worked with, but maybe sometimes you won't find the other one. How do you find that? Because yeah, now we have a lot social media, find the new people, but I don't know if you have your strategy on that.
Yeah, so I look for illustrators in 3 places, 3 main places. One is a site called Behance, BEHANCE.net. They're awesome. Number 2 is Dribble with 3 B's.com, DRIBBBLE.com. And then, of course, Instagram, right? Just, searching the hashtag for like children's book illustrators or illustration, things like that. And what I typically do is, well, there's 2 things that we do. One, I look through about 100 portfolios a week, and I just make note of the folks that I think will be right for certain scripts that we have in development. We have 17 children's book, picture book scripts in development right now. And so I'm always looking for people who might be a good lock and key for that situation. Number two is once the story grid is done and we're like, okay, now we're ready to start talking to illustrators, we really think about what type of mood that book has, and then we try to find the person who naturally does the thing that the story requires. So we never want to ask an illustrator to be something other than they are, or draw in a style that they like to draw. We want you to be you. And so we want you to be a natural fit for the project. And so we try to match things organically. So we're not asking somebody to be anything other than their amazing artistic selves. And then we go from there. But those are the two ways that we find talent. One, I'm always looking at artist portfolios. So if anybody listening to this is an illustrator, please hit me up on Instagram, Jesse B Creative, Jesse B as in boy creative, and share your profile. We're always looking for talent because, again, I don't draw anything, so these books have to get drawn somewhere.
And thank you so much. And do you translate also your book? Because I imagine your book about they are in English, but if you want also sell your books in other country, do you translate that, or you have connection with the other publishing houses around the world?
Yeah, so we just started working with an awesome company right now called Fablingua that translates it's this digital platform, but it translates children's picture books into Spanish. And it has all these interactive sort of digital moments. So it'll take your book and make it a little bit more interactive. And also it'll have the dual language component where, English native speakers can learn Spanish, Spanish native speakers can learn English while reading this particular story on the app. And so it's really, really cool. And we're lucky to be working with them. And so, but that right now is sort of our first journey into translation, because we want to be really thoughtful about how we do it and how we share our books into other language and how they get translated, right? We want to be sensitive to that too. So, but yeah, that's what we're doing now. We're excited to sort of announce that relatively soon. So that's pretty good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have another question. How do you, because for me, like very, very important. I work every day about social emotional emotion, understand emotion. And so, because I'm a counselor, psychologist, but sure, I also writing and do illustration. I love that. But the difficulty is how you can really show emotion, and the children can really feel the emotion and say, oh, okay, I feel this in my body. I know what I maybe I know, but or maybe I just understand a little, something, because always I try to say, oh, can I find another toy or another or design another things material I can help the children to manage his or her feelings. So is a big big question for me. I know maybe you have a right answer.
Yeah, no, you're right. Emotion is the biggest thing when you're creating a children's picture book. You are really trying to draw the reader into the character's experience, into their skin, so that they can see and feel and think as your main character does. And one of the ways, a few ways that we try to really tap into emotion, besides the story and the words and things like that, are how we use color and shading and lighting, and then point of view. I mean, obviously, they do the same thing in the film, where if a character feels really powerful, then we'll capture that scene from maybe an ant's point of view. We're on the ground and we're looking up, right? If they feel scared or small, then a bird's eye view maybe. We'll look down at the character to make them feel small. But we use all of our tools, language, color, shading, lighting, perspective, to try to draw you into a moment, whether it's a heartfelt moment or it's a spooky moment or it's an action-packed scene. We want you to feel it as vividly as possible, because we know that's where the real connection lies. That's really the meat and potatoes of art in the first place. It's emotion. So we're always trying to use all the tools at our disposal to make you feel something. Feel something first and foremost, and then if you learn something, great. But if nothing else, we want you to feel something.
Okay, wow. Great. Thank you so much. It's amazing. So a lot information, and really the creative intelligence is there. It's moving everywhere. Do you have because you write from 0 to 8 years old? Do you think it's there is some more difficult or simple? It's more simple to write with the pre-lecture, or is it's more simple maybe for the old one from, because the pre-lecture in some way you need also write for the parents, because parents or adults they need to read the book, or also show the book and the illustration to his or her child. So how do you do you work
Yeah.
that part?
Well, I mean, I always compare it to like children's picture books are like commercials are to television, right? We are the commercials of the publishing space. You have this much time to get a message across. You know, for example, an average children's picture book, it'll be somewhere between 500 and 750 words, right? As to where a middle grade novel may be 40,000, 50,000 words, an adult book may be 70 or 80,000 words. And so we have this much word count and this much page count, maybe 32 pages is average for a children's picture book. And so we don't have a lot of space to sort of get something across, to share something, to tell a story. And so for that reason, I wouldn't say it's any more or less difficult. Every genre has its challenges. But what I will say is because of that, we have to be very, very efficient, or we try to be very, very efficient in the amount of space we have. Because if there's too much fluff, if there's too much stuff in the book that doesn't need to be there, that's dragging down the story, or that's just making it longer than it needs to be, it's gonna take away from the reader. It's gonna dilute the experience for the reader. It's gonna make it less potent, less sharp, less strong. And so we really have to be very judicious, for lack of a better word, when we're going through our editing process. We have to be very stern about what we cut, what we leave in, what we change, because we know we don't have a lot of room for error. So if you're writing, for example, if you're writing a chapter book and you have 50,000 words, well, if you write a few paragraphs that aren't your best work, nobody's really gonna get upset and throw the book at the wall and say this book is terrible. But in a children's picture book, if you have 4 pages out of 32 pages that really pull down the story, people are going to feel that. They're going to feel it a lot more than they would feel 4 pages in a larger book because of the percentages. And so for us, we're always thinking about that in terms of like, okay, we have a little bit of space to try to do a lot, but we need to do it clearly and succinctly and not overcomplicate it, but also make it meaningful as well. And so I think that's the challenge with children's picture books, is just how little time you get with your audience and how much of an impact you can make if things go right. Yeah, but also how many ways it cannot go right.
Okay. And do you have some because you achieve a lot things in your life. Do you have other dream or project is coming soon, or maybe soon, or done some months? Right. The time is relative,
Yeah,
especially now.
yeah. I mean, simply put, one of my dreams is to have these books translated into television and film and animation. Of course, I'm always thinking about like how we can reach more children, more audiences, and touch more folks. But also is to, in a very businessy sense, become more of a household name, become a household name, because there aren't that many people who look like me who are household names in publishing in general, but especially in the children's picture book space. And I just really want kids to know that you can look like anything, you can come from anywhere, and you can still, tell stories. If that's what you want to do, if what you want to do is tell stories and you want to commit your life to it, like I'm committing my life to it, this is an option for you. And I think one of the best ways for kids to know something is possible is to see reflections of themselves in that career. And so that's one of the goals, like, and just being totally honest about it, just that's one of the goals. We want to be able to inspire on a large scale and show that different folks, because I mean, I'm working on a project now with an Asian American author. who's differently able. She's awesome, and an illustrator who's Puerto Rican out of Puerto Rico, and she's awesome. And so really trying to have a diverse team to show folks that like all of these people come from all of these places with all of these experiences, and they still, you know, are telling stories for the youth, and that's what they're passionate about. And so I think showing is better than telling. So we're trying to be one of the examples.
Okay. Wow. So super. Great. And do you do also audio books? Your book are because um I have more than 15 years experience in international schools everywhere in the world, and in some schools, especially in the United States, when I was working there, we use it audio books, so
Hmm.
pictures book, but the audio, and I I I'm thinking they were a good tools have this in the school, so I don't know if
Yeah, we did something really fun with the Sunny Days. Is a picture book that we wrote with the audio book where we hired a voice actress out of Los Angeles. Her name is Connie Marie Flores, and she's phenomenal. And her husband not only do voice acting, but they do production and sound. And they really took that story and turned it into like a 7 minute audio experience. I mean, what they did with that was so phenomenal. And so that moving forward is kind of what we want to do with all of our picture books is if we're going to make it into an audio book, we'd love to hire like a voice actress and a production team to make it a full immersive experience, as opposed to just, you know, me reading it to you, which I can do. I would rather have it come to life with people who are professionals. I do readings all the time, so people can always hear me read, and I love reading, and we have a good time. But I think for the audiobook, I think that's a place to provide opportunity for all of these other creatives who may specialize in making things come to life with their voice and with sound and things like that. And so it's really fun. That was a really fun project as well to take the book and turn it into like this audio experience. But yeah, that's how we approach creating audiobooks is using voice actors and actors. We're using voice actors and also sounds.
now when I was listening to you, I don't know why I was visualize like a pictures book like because we were talking about audio. You were talking about maybe to do a movie or and I was thinking why not also in in theater drama with the actor in reality, like the books become it's become real, like it's this is can be also because always in my mind there was like about emotion to work maybe with a theater with drama and do that with and to show to the children like a book become real. I don't know why. I just you were talking and I had that this is mage. Can be also. I don't know. Maybe you already.
Yeah, that'd be a dream. I mean, that's the dream. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
No, I don't know. The voice is just no. I was thinking maybe you already think about that, or I don't know. Oh,
Here we are.
ah, yeah. Just the Wi-Fi.
Of course. No, no problem.
No, yeah, we were talking about when we do were talking. I had this image like the book become real in in the theater drama. I don't know, maybe if you already think about that or you never.
Yeah, no, we definitely do. So here's what we do. For every children's picture book that we write, we also build out a basically a pitch deck of what this would look like if it were a TV show or an animated movie. And so we already think about those from the beginning in terms of, okay, if we wanted to expand this book and make it out into a TV show or out into an animated film, like what would the story be? What characters, what other characters we want to add to it? What's the arc? You know, if it's a series, what's going to happen over the course of the season? What's going to happen over the course of the series? What are going to be the major conflict and plot points? Who are we going to get to know? Who are our main characters? What are their issues? Like, what are they good at? What are they not good at? Things like that. What do they want? What's in their way of getting what they want? All those sort of major questions. And so we like to do that as soon as we do the book. As soon as the book is done, we start thinking about how can we build the materials for translation into TV and film. Even if there are no opportunities on the table at that time, we want to be prepared and have it. That way we can then go initiate those conversations. Hopefully we can be the ones to say, hey, we would love to do this with this property. Here's how we're thinking about translating it into TV and film. Let us know if this makes sense, or if you need other information from us, or you need to see it differently. But we try to be proactive about next steps and what we wish to happen with the properties, with the books.
Wow, it's amazing. Yeah, you kind of, if you have your stuff, you visualize before all the big picture, and after, if it's possible, it's amazing. If it's not, it's okay too. But yeah, this is good. This is a good process about creativity in what I call in motion creative intelligence. For me, it's like this. Because I would like to write about my theories, so it's really interesting. Well, thank you so much, Jesse. I don't know. Do you have something you would like to conclude this interview? Do you like, maybe you have some to say to the public who will watching this interview? Some advice or
Yeah, I guess a few things. One is that if you have a children's picture book idea, or you're working on something, please feel free to hit me up and drop me a line. Again, the website is jessebcreative.com, JESSEB as a boy creative.com. Love helping folks along their journey. I'm really passionate about helping people get from A to Z, because I know people have amazing ideas and they're just trying to figure out what the next step is, or how do I get this published, or how do I get it marketed, or how do I get an agent to take a look at me? And I'm always happy to talk through those things. If you're looking for diverse children's books published by amazing diverse creators, we have those on our website as well. That's what we do as a publisher. But I think probably the biggest thing for me when it comes to like passion and dreams and things like that is that I think what I've learned is that you have to choose your dream, and you have to choose it over and over and over again. You have to choose it every day. Like, it's not just I made a big decision to leave my job and start my dream and now it's done. It's like, no, that decision needs to be made multiple times, because you may run into financial troubles, hardships, which I have. You may run into career troubles where you get disappointment or deals don't go through, which I have. And at every single time where you're disappointed or things don't work out, or you're in a really tough spot, you may have to choose your dream again and again and again. And I think that's sort of the magic of it. I think the people who end up being in positions that we admire, they've chosen to stay with their dream, or they've re-chosen their dream again and again, despite having a lot of hard things to deal with. And that's how they get to the mountaintop, is that they kept choosing to take the next step, And so it is a choice. There are many people who choose otherwise, who choose at some point where it gets too tough, or it's just not right for them. They choose to get off the hamster wheel. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's your life circumstance. We have things that happen, people pass away, things happen in our life. But, I always try to say either never quit or never quit forever, because please come back to it. Like, if you've left it, baby crawl, do little things to keep yourself engaged with what it is that lights you up inside. Because time moves quickly, and you can look up and have 40 years where you haven't, you meant to do something totally different, and life just got carried away, and it can happen. And so I think just choosing and re-choosing what it is you love it has been important for me. Let me say that.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Jesse. It was amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate your time. This is awesome.
Thank you.